They'll blanket you in Wi-Fi and profit off the radiation. Congregation collecting the people for that Satan. I keeps it blazing, cause I can read between the lines. I ain't blind, we unwind what they're really saying. Genetically modify what you're tasting. Don't need that cottage promise, so now you live up in your mom's basement. Redesign time so your mind is always wasted. Programmed to crave the basics. Keep the beta in stasis. Pay the state, kid. You're in debt for being born. Messengers are more than just the price for being warned. Don't be alarmed. Disconnect from their machinations. Stop subscribing to the folly of own nations. Bone breaking ain't the answer, cause they seek the ownership of souls. Spread the seeds and watch them grow. Break the chains of control. Break the chains of control.
Sweet eternal balance of all that is good, true, and beautiful, friends. Rogueways is pleased as punch to have our dear friend Katherine O'Shea bring us messages from our fuzzy, feathered, or scaled animal friends, and tonight from our animal guides as well, or others. We will see what comes up. She's a Tao practitioner, an animal communication specialist, a woman of immense heart, extreme clarity, infinite love, and the greatest of commitments to serve, which allows her to a depth of communication not many achieve. She gives to us so freely and profoundly. Please welcome a friend to all animals and humans and the bridge between the two worlds, Katherine O'Shea. Katherine, thank you for coming back once again to Rogueways.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. I love that intro. I feel so loved up and full.
just pouring it in so we can have an even better connection tonight.
Oh, I love it. I love coming on. Hello, everybody on Rogueways, all the ways that everyone's connecting. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here with all of you to connect and bring the love and light. All bring it together. Everybody pitches in and brings it together. I love being on here. It's awesome.
It's pretty special. I sometimes I'm like, are people really, are we getting too used to how special it is? Hopefully not, because it is really beautiful, actually. And we're so lucky. We're so lucky we get to have you here for free and get messages from you and from Source and from our animal guides and whoever else, you know, you connect to. It's just such a blessing for all of us.
Oh, thank you so much. You know, I think that having the gratitude is always good, right? But I think that special is a good norm.
That's true. That's not a bad point.
I like, because I wonder that about my life sometimes. I'm just like, wow, it's just like, sometimes it's like, it's so normalized to me. And I just have to check in with myself to make sure like I'm still connected to the gratitude, right? And it doesn't become the grind, but it also is okay for like just every day of my life to be like extraordinarily special, and for that to be just like completely normal for me and the people around me and the people I get to connect with and all of the animals. So
I am with you. I sometimes hear myself like describing, you know, things to Johnny or just even to myself in reflection of like that day, and I'm like, wow. I mean, there was a time in my life where what just happened in one day would have been like mind-blowing for years or something, right? I'd have been like, what? And now I'm just like, yeah, that's the day. Like, that's what happened. It is. We're pretty lucky people. And I love that. Special should be normal, actually. Everybody.
New norm.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes we don't realize it until we're connecting to someone that had a different day, or, you know, or even just sharing about what happened in our day. I like doing that actually, because it makes me realize and go deeper into my heart about it, rather than it just being like, brush my teeth, you know?
Connect to a spirit guide, brush my teeth, eat lunch.
Guide, you know, talk to an animal, give a blessing, you know, heal somebody, okay, la la la. But
It's pretty lucky. So I have a pointless question of the episode for you today.
Oh, yes.
And it's not that pointless, but I wanted to know, what is your idea about, or things you might want to say about, the concept of time?
Oh.
I just have this whole thing where I'm like, at time, I feel like, especially in the place where you and I spend a lot of time, doesn't actually exist. And so it gets like really weird. It's hard to like describe or explain, especially to people who maybe haven't yet experienced time as not actually existing. But then it does exist, right? Like you were here at 7 o'clock and we started at 7 o'clock Mountain, and like that's a time, and we're all here together now in this time. And so it's weird. It's a weird thing.
Okay, so it's like this thing that doesn't exist in the way that I think we think it exists. And we could say that nothing actually exists if
Fair.
we wanted to. But for me, I'm glad you're asking me this question today, actually, because being someone who's very ethereal and who's spends a lot of time in that world, even as a child, I was just always like, hanging out with the spirit animals. Like, I think a lot of kids are like that. And maybe a lot of adults too. But I think I really want to get better about making sure that I'm like really, it's not efficiency from like the super 3D human perspective, but just like also I think our time on earth is very precious. And if you're thinking of it that way, we live 100 years. So so I was struggling with this a while back, and I was just like, you know what? But we do create time.
I've done it.
We just create it. So like whenever my excuse is, oh, I didn't have time, I just like make myself stop and be like, well, you just didn't create the time.
I totally agree.
Like we just create it. I mean, a day doesn't have to really be 24 hours. I mean, it can, but when does an hour actually ever feel like an hour? Like, what does that even mean?
Yes.
Like you and I, when we get on here, all of a sudden we're like, oh, we were going to stop at this time. And now
Here we are. Yeah. And when before you start, you're like, oh, an hour's kind of a long time. Like, I guess we'll try to get there. And then we're here and we're like, actually that was an hour? Like, whoa.
Yeah. So I feel like, time is, for me, this is just coming to me right now, how I can look at it. And maybe some people will connect to this. I don't know. It's just like an honoring of the moment. So sometimes, right, when I have something scheduled, blah, 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 and not like with a client, because I really, really like to honor all of that and not move it around. But sometimes you have to. But if I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this today, and then I get guided and connected to shift that and spend more time doing something else or doing, it's like I just move it around and it's just created for me, right? It just opens up. It's like, oh, all of a sudden you're in nature, so you have time to walk or like whatever, So I don't know if that's an answer.
Yeah, I love that answer.
I think right now, this week, I'm going to practice on, and y'all can join me if you want to, time just being like a deep honoring of presence.
I love it. It is actually, the more present I become, the more time like
It can.
Yeah, and I'm like, well,
No,
now I
it
have
really can.
tons of time. Sometimes I feel like I even have too much time, which I used to always feel exactly the opposite. Never enough time to do everything I wanted and all the things. And now I'm like, I have a lot of time. But it really is that being present, which is hard to describe. It's not hard to achieve, really, but it is if you're
It's hard for me
if you've never done it. Yeah, like if you're not
Very
practiced
hard.
at it, or
Yeah.
it's certain situations, it is really hard to achieve. But like in the time you achieve it, that wasn't hard. Do you know what I mean? Like there's not like this great skill you have or don't have. It's like just giving yourself that presence, giving yourself that time to do it, to connect deeply and to be present often enough that you actually then can like, oh, I am just doing it. I don't know how else to explain it. It's not like a special skill some people have and don't have, and so therefore it doesn't seem like difficult to me, but it is something we don't practice and we don't do, and so it seems like difficult sometimes.
And there could be other information and messages that you carry in your field that could make that seem more difficult. So I'm just relating to myself, like, for me, I have had a really hard, what has been challenging for me is, let's see, how do I talk about this so it makes sense? being disciplined, right? But not being disciplined is like I'm being punished for doing something. Disciplining myself so that I get what I want and make time and get what I want or what I need or the nourishment or the presence, so I connect to who is going to fill my life up so that I accomplish the things that move me forward. So, right. So I'm connecting to these places and able to connect to my heart and be open in that moment. Discipline has always been, focus and discipline has always been very difficult for me. And in class, when I was young, I had like a lot of ear issues. So I had a lot of like surgeries and stuff on my ears, tubes and all kinds of stuff. So I wondered if I just didn't develop the ability to listen very well and like pay attention in that way, because I was around that age, where you develop that. Because I remember being in school and then the kindergarten teacher being like, great, okay, you all know what to do. And I was just like,
what?
I don't know what to do.
Who knows what to do?
And then just kind of like, well, I'll just wander around until someone asks me if I need help. What are you supposed to be doing? I'm like, I don't know.
Just hanging out.
Yeah, you can tell me. But bringing it back to what you were kind of talking about is, I realized through some spiritual readings and just clearing and like really kind of like taking a look at it and getting support in that as well, that it was related to this message connected to freedom for me. I think that people can relate to this.
Oh yeah.
And it's a mindset, and it's something that probably came from past lifetimes and experiences, and also different things, right, that I picked up on when I was little. Like, okay, this happens, then this happens. All right, I'm not going to do, or that it wasn't that important, no matter what I did or didn't do. The consequence was going to be, or whatever I picked up on, right? So it was like, focusing on one thing, getting disciplined would take away from my freedom. Yeah. When in fact, the truth is quite the opposite, I believe. Because if I'm bringing that discipline to myself, I'm disciplining myself. So that's going to give me the most freedom I could ever want. And it would probably just bring me so much joy. So that's not to go elaborate too much on that, but that's what's been in my coming up for me to like take a look at and give new life to and transform with the springtime, with kind of like starting anew, looking at things differently. So I've been working on that, actually taking a look at that when that message comes up, because all of a sudden I'll need a break, and it's like, well, you actually just have gotten up and eaten breakfast. Like, you probably don't need a break.
Another break.
So finding things that work with me, that keep me in that flow and connected, and don't like just completely derail, because I think consistency is really important. So that's just something I have been observing that I want to grow in for myself and for my service, because then I can serve so many people, more people also, and the animals. So anyways, I guess that's connected to time.
Yeah, it is beautifully, actually. And I love how tying into freedom too, because it actually does give you more freedom, and actually unlocks and unleashes you and opens up the time and like creates.
No, you're so goodness. Good. You're like my my idol in that.
Thank you. I feel like I have space to grow. Like, I have some things, and it's especially related to that same message. Like, I don't have as much freedom if I do this and that. And this also with addiction and those types of things and drug abuse and stuff, that came up a lot too. So I was like, oh, I already gave up, this and this and this. I don't want to give up smoking too. Like, that's the last thing I have, and I want to stay free. Like, how is it free to be burdened by the rampant need to like buy this toxic thing and put it in your body? That's not freedom, right? So a lot of the things that we even associate with the freedom we're going to lose if we discipline ourselves in these ways, it's not actually freedom at all.
No, it's like us.
Yeah.
clinging to our limitations.
Yeah. It's actually like a fear to grow almost too.
That limitation is mine. Don't you
Yes.
try to take it away from me. I might turn into the thing I want to turn into.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And then here we are, living our best selves, but even you and I have these things that we want to grow and we want to continue to transform. And so it's important, I think, to honor every single step along the way, no matter where you're at, no matter where you're going, no matter where you've been. Like that's the next step for you, is whatever it is for you. And that's a beautiful
Well,
step.
and for you and and I'm just saying that because we're the ones talking, and I know we connect on this similarly. That will never stop.
No.
We won't be like, cool.
All right, we've arrived. Done.
Dun, 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 dun. I even have that. I know we've talked about this before on your show, but I even have that around helping the animals. To remember me talking about that a little bit. I was like, oh, that's gonna like limit what I can do, because many of you, some of you I might have connected to personally for like personal work outside of animals. And I know Lindsay's connected to a lot of you. Obviously, we love Lindsay. She supports us all. But actually it opened everything up.
Yeah, it's like the opposite.
It was, because I was a little cranky about it. I mean, I was still grateful, but I was just like, but how will I,
This
do
is
everything?
and this is one of the things I think people do not as often understand about the work you do, that I understood almost immediately the first time I was able to have you on the show, I think, and you gave me some messages and some readings, as instantly things started releasing from me, from my, whatever you want to call it, my soul, my psychic body, my emotional body, releasing. And that's healing. You're doing healing work. So like what you're doing is getting these messages from our animals, from our animal guides, from whoever, but what the messages are doing is healing us. And so you are literally healing people. And I don't, it's not like I know you say that, I know that, but it's not necessarily how it's like quote unquote branded or packaged for.
Yeah.
So when people come to look at it, they might not understand just how much it's going to give them to do this.
I had this lady the other day be like, because I think I was referred to her as an animal psychic or something like that, which is fine. But she's like, yeah, that's not what you are. She was so funny. She's like, you got to think of some other way to talk about yourself. It was cute.
Yeah.
Because of the work, she was obviously very connected in her own way to what, it just clicked for her. And you know what, when you're sitting here talking about that, I'm also reflecting on what it was for me. So that was the other thing because there's a reason serving the animals is significant for me in my journey also, because I have some service to do for them, probably because of some stuff me and my ancestors did that created harm for the animals or didn't honor them or whatever it might be, right? I mean, we hunted, we did all kinds of stuff. So, and that's just on this planet. So I have this opportunity, right, to be guided to serve the animals is actually going to fast track me too. If I focused on what I received to focus on and the abilities that I had, rather than what I actually had an agenda and wanted to do. So, in painting, I paint the heavens animals, right? I'm connected to the animal guides too. And that wasn't really something I was that interested in doing either. And I got guidance to do it. And I got guidance I had to do it live on Facebook, and I had never done it before. And so the guidance was you could do 3 practice rounds. And I'm just like, I'd been connecting to heaven's animals, but I'd never, used my channels to do it that way, sort of, but not so intentionally, right? Live in front of people, bringing someone's heaven's animal or animal guide forward. And the first time I did it, I was on camera, but I wasn't live. I was just practicing. And I mean, at some point I just was on the ground crying so hard, like, I cannot do this. Like, this is too intense, because I was purifying everything that I needed to be able to do it. Right? That's why it was so important for me to do, so that I could also receive that clearing. And it's actually the first one was one of my favorite paintings. So yeah, I got braver and started doing it after my third try. And then it was just like, people were really connecting to it, and I'd have a bunch of people watching it happen. And it ended up being like one of my favorite things to do.
That's so beautiful. It's so
Yeah.
cool too. And I stress this too to everyone listening, and also to anyone who's just on their own path, just everyone, whether you know it or
Everyone.
not. That idea that you were talking about getting the guidance versus what your own agenda and idea was.
Yeah.
Because anytime, actually, I know and maybe you'll say it in a different way than me, but I think we agree about this. Anytime you step away from that guidance and you're doing what you decided to do or what you want to do, especially as you're serving people or animals or whoever, then that's when things go really poorly and are
Mhm.
not the highest that things can turn out. It's not the highest energy that can come through, and it's not of the highest outcome or service to any of the energies involved. So I love that. It's hard, I think, for many of us to know the difference sometimes, but it's really
Yeah.
important to learn the difference and then follow that instead of. It's not like saying don't follow your heart, right? It's just that part of you that's like willful and like almost grasping onto like this is my identity or this is my idea of who I'm supposed to be, instead of being like this is clearly what like the universe is like guiding me to see, like here is actually where you're supposed to be.
Right. It's kind of like, well, this is the personality that I've spent 30 years creating. So why are you trying to tell me to
Why are
do
you
something?
destroying it? Yeah.
Yeah. But it was interesting because it wasn't not following my heart, right? But I did have the resistance to it. It didn't sound like the worst thing in the world. It just was different than, it was uncomfortable. But for me, I know myself. So I know if it's uncomfortable, that means I have not doing it became more uncomfortable, right? When I don't follow the guidance, it gets really uncomfortable. And when I let my ego or whatever it is lead the way in a different direction, yeah, I get to learn like whatever I need to learn through that. But if you can break through that growth and that discomfort, it's like what you can receive is so amazing. And it's one of my favorite things to do now. Connecting to the animals, period. I love doing the animal readings. I love connecting to heaven's animals. I love painting. I would have never considered I'm like not trained or anything. I just do it through my channels, really. And the reason I love it is because the profound like response that it's created and what it's created for people and also for me in my life. And so um I think it's important. This is like a thing that's going around that I think is important to connect to. Like what lights you up, what feels good, what makes you say yes. But also, it's important to know that you might get a little tested in that and you might have some baggage, that interference that you've collected on the way through the mindsets or other people's beliefs, like you can't be a professional artist and make a living, right? Starving artist, that kind of thing, or like animal communication is not a real profession or whatever, like that wasn't it for me, but it's like whatever you like, I'm not an artist. How am I going to paint in front of people? I don't know how to do that. Okay, well, those were all negative messages, but obviously it's a bunch of hooey because how do I know what my soul can do? My soul could have lived hundreds of lifetimes. I could have painted the ceiling of some great cathedral. I have no idea. So I think sometimes for me, it's a different discomfort. I don't know what it's like for you, but it's like, okay, I'm resisting this because it's probably really important rather than, right? It's like uncomfortable. Like I know that's probably going to be a good idea, but
it's terrifying. Like
yeah,
doing Rogue Ways, didn't want to do it. Terrifying, still terrifying, just way more. Now I've done it so many times that it's like hard to really feel the terror, but it's under there somewhere. And people think the opposite. They're like, oh no, this is like, must be so easy for you. You're an extrovert. I am I am 1 percentage point past 50 on the introvert extrovert scale. I'm way happier as an introvert. That's most of me. And a tiny, tiny bit of me is willing to be an extrovert, but this is what I was guided to do. And same, I feel the exact same with all of the services I provide with people. Every step of the way, some part of me was like, I know I can do that. I know I love everything about it, and also it's terrifying to imagine actually doing it, and I don't want to. Therefore, it's way easier to not ever do it. But holy cow, if I didn't ever do any of that, whew, what a different life. I'm so grateful, actually. And like you said, you're actually purifying and clearing and healing yourself when you're stepping into that path for yourself, and when you're accepting that guidance of what it is you're really here to do and supposed to be. None of it was comfortable. All of it, like you said, it's not like it was anything that I hated or disliked. It was just,
it's like, this is what I saw when you were talking in my spiritual vision. It was like my mind's eye. It's like you're holding on to like this tree or something, and all these horses are like stampeding by you. She's like, and you're like, oh my gosh, I love these horses. This is the most amazing moment ever. And like,
yes.
At the same time.
Well, and there's this perfect Anais Nin quote that I've loved since I was a child, and it keeps being relevant throughout my life over and over again. And it's something like, and then the day came when the pain to remain tight in a bud was greater than the pain it took to blossom. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly it. Like you don't really want to. It's way funner here in the little tight little bud. Everything's safe and calm. You know what it is. But once you blossom, like it still might be terrifying and a little bit painful, but it's so much less painful. It's actually so beautiful, and you receive so much light.
And the glory and everything, expansion that can come with it, right?
Yes.
I remember when I did my first live animal readings, like just on Facebook or whatever, after I was like, oh my God, I want to erase it. Like I was just so freaked out because I was learning, right? I mean, I could do the communication. I had done one-on-ones for years and years, but I had to learn. Then I asked, right, my guidance, and they're like, no, it was good, but these are the things that you need to do next time. And then I was like, oh, okay. So I need to know the name and the type of animal so that I like am easily connecting to the right field of information, to the right soul, rather than just like kind of then panicking and being like, there's so many connections happening right now. How do I pick the right one? And I'm live and I can't see anyone or anyone's reaction. I don't know if that felt true for that person. And obviously now I've done it for a while. So it's a little different, but yeah.
I love it. I love that this is just the direction we took, because I know there's people out there who are feeling the same. They're like, well, I know that I want to help, or I know I want to serve, or I'm not sure how, and whatever. And understanding this sort of process is probably helpful for some people who are also terrified, or also resistant, or also like, hey, I know I'm supposed to, but I just like, not yet, maybe in a little while.
And I think that everyone who I know that has stepped into whatever they're doing, like you are, like I am, it kind of found them, right?
Yep.
It kind of like, honestly, I wanted to do like this mother and baby meditation group. I think I've told you this before. And so I like put up these signs, and like it was in Hawaii. It was going to be like at sunset on the beach. So amazing. And people showed up with their dogs.
I love that. That's so how it goes. Yeah, I don't feel like we get a choice, really.
Yeah, my friend was like, you're doing a pet group, right? And I was like, yeah, I guess so. So I think the important thing to not get too in your head about it, this is just my opinion, and you might have something to share about it too, but for those of you who find this helpful, just get out there and you can call it serve, you can, however you want to do it, add to the world in whatever way does bring you joy and makes you happy. And if there is a different purpose or a different direction for that you're not aware of or don't connect to yet, it will find you. I think.
I agree.
Don't you think so?
Oh yeah. And it's hard sometimes to even explain just how much. That example you just gave is perfect. Because when I try to explain to people, I'm like, I literally, it's not like I didn't choose any of this, but I didn't consciously choose any of this. And all of it was just like kept inserting itself and like forcing itself and like forcing me to like go certain directions until I either lived in agony all day every day or just went along with the flow, which again wasn't like it wasn't what I wanted. It was just terrifying for me to do any of the stuff that am doing now. So it really was, I couldn't have avoided it, period. I didn't go,
And we were asking for it,
and that, yeah,
but it doesn't always come in the package
or at the time,
or the
place.
timing or the place. I'm thinking of even you talking about like, and we can totally get into the animal stuff, everybody, in a minute, but I feel like this is important. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're just going with the flow. But the one thing I just want to say about you saying about the extrovert and introvert, I feel like we're very similar in that way. I think most people would describe me as an extrovert. I would not describe myself as that now that I know myself better. Like when everything was shutting down, I was like, whew.
Yeah. That's nice.
Like, all right, get a little break from like needing to be out so much. But I remember even like as a child, say, for example, there was like a new kid in school or someone who looked like they needed support, or like say they were standing over there by themselves, or it was someone that I needed to connect to, not for any physical human reason, like not to get information from them, but I was being guided to. I really didn't want to, but it would be so uncomfortable for me not to. It's like, oh, okay, fine. Hi, I'm sorry, you knew, and I would just do it. And then as soon as I would open my mouth and do that, then it would happen. It wouldn't be painful anymore. And right, it would be bringing whatever that person needed to them, the connection I needed to make. And sometimes it turned out like, wow. But if you ask any of my siblings, they would tell you that I'm the one who like is not afraid to talk to anybody and who can be really social and who any people just want to talk to. And I think they might identify differently. And I'm just like, yeah, well, I'm not like really putting my hand up for that. Like, it's just because it's so uncomfortable if I don't do it, because I feel like that's part of my service. It's part of my soul knows that that's what needs to happen.
Yeah.
And as much as I'm like,
yeah, and as much as you have that like love and joy and like you want to connect, like I at least was literally hiding behind my mom's legs and like peeking out all the time. Like I'm not. This is all you guys. I'm just watching. Like I'm not really here. Don't look at me. And I still have that like in my heart. Like that's where I'm really happy and comfortable. It's like just watching. And it's funny because once I'm comfortable, I'm like, oh, I'm happy to say and share anything. Like I will talk about anything. I have no discomfort about topics or so. There's no taboos for me. Like, so people again think that that's like this extroverted thing. And I'm like, no, I first have to be comfortable. Then I will talk about it. Now I'll sit in the corner for a while just watching to make sure, like, is this a safe place? I don't know. Who are you people? Like, come figure that out first and then go there. So I know it's like can be very confusing. I'm sure for both of us, the messages we seem to be sending to others are not the messages we feel like we're holding for ourselves.
yeah, it's very interesting, right? So, and we could be accessing our abilities, our ways, our personalities from whatever lifetime needs to be accessed at that moment too.
That's a good point.
That just kind of dawned on me. It's like, well, sometimes you gotta do something about something.
I love it. We've got some people in the chat who are feeling more motivated and confident because of us sharing this. So I'm in addition to that, I'm sure there's other reasons why we've talked about all the things we've talked about tonight. And I know we're going to get to some messages that we want to bring through for people.
Yeah.
Oh, there was one more thing tickling my brain though that we were talking about that I thought would be fun. And now I think, someone asked the question, in your opinion because the title I've titled this episode is Source. Messages from Source? Yeah, messages from Source. And so someone asked, well, what is Source?
Oh, what is source?
I'm like, I know my answer would be like slightly different than yours, and at the same time, qualitatively, we're talking about the exact same thing.
I mean, what would your answer be?
I describe source as the ever-present life force, or whatever you want to call it, prana, chi, spirit, orgone. Like, it's all the same. Love, you can call it love if you want, but it's that's everywhere all the time, in every molecule and every bit of everything that ever existed, period. All things come from it. It is the creator, you know, and
Yeah,
at the same
what I
time, I
would say.
have this conception of it that it's nothing. It's like that emanating emptiness that you can't even describe. All those things I just said aren't really it, right? It's just the closest we can come to trying to describe it.
I mean, I think that's why the definition of the way of talking about source is using the word Tao. I think that's why I connect to that,
Yeah.
to use that word, because Tao is everything and nothing and
Yeah.
create. So yeah, I mean, that's how I connect to it too. I would say the creator, the ultimate, but it can really be, it is in everything. So it could be whatever anyone connects to it as.
This is also why I love sometimes, you know, working with you over however long it's been now. Sometimes we'll have this like, well, like deity, right? Like come through. And then other times it's like a pine cone. And I'm like, but they're like, they both have source connection and they're both powerful and have beautiful messages and energies to bring. And I love that. I love that everything is almost equal in that space. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's with, and I think that's like part of what, like when my guides are saying, connect with animals and do this, I think that's part of, I would say that's a source message. That's like part of me connecting to my source nature.
And the source nature that's within them, right? And then that's also what's like connecting the two.
Yeah, because it's not separate.
No.
We're all entangled in it. It's like different, maybe facets of the same thing, or maybe it's not different at all.
Yeah. That's part of the illusion.
Yeah.
Love it. I love it. I love the support for each other in the chat. I love this community so much, and that's why we get to like have such powerful connections here too, is because people are so beautiful to one another in this community.
Can you tell me what some of the people are saying?
There's just some people. So Krista shared, thank you both. I've been standing on this edge for 30 days, terrified. Every excuse not to post first vids. Time to clean the toilet, the veggie drawers, and the fridge. Lol, this is so encouraging. And then Kabar is saying like, you got this, Krista. You're strong and loved and amazing, and thank you. And people are just like that all the time here, and I love that. I love that we have such a strong community here. So should we jump into some messages?
Yeah. Are there people who are requesting them?
No one yet has requested anything specific.
So I'm wondering if we should connect about kind of what we've been talking about.
I love that.
Or like if Krista wants a message about like, you know, whatever she's been going through, I think maybe we just do some messages.
I would love that.
And I think maybe it's fun, since you titled it that way, and since we do have this beautiful privilege to just connect. I don't know if privilege is the right word, honor, whatever. We have this ability to connect to the pine cone or the deity or the heavens animal or whatever it is. And maybe we should just connect and see, connect all the guides and the team who wants to come and help us, and just also connect to our own hearts. Just take a moment to do that and maybe just receive a message and see.
That sounds perfect. Krista says, yes, please. And
see if maybe Krista has a particular question or area she wants.
The people who are requesting so far are just requesting a general message. Kabar is also, who is actually Christy.
Oh, sorry, Christy.
No, that we have a Krista, and then Kabar, is actually Christy, yeah. And then Lindsay is also, Lindsay 14 is also requesting a message.
Well, let's see. Let's do a
David.
general, let's connect. Let's do a general message.
Okay.
And then I would like to do a blessing demonstration.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, maybe for someone to help, raise your vibrational field, clear some of that negative information that could be keeping you from connecting, keeping you on that edge. I don't mean to laugh. I just, when she said that, I can just identify with it, right? So I'm just giggling because I'm like, yes, it is a thing and also is not a thing. It's all the things and all the nothings. All right.
Love it.
And then, yeah, you can just monitor the chat and see whatever everybody's needs are. Because we have 15 minutes, we can get a lot done in that time.
Yes.
We're learning this together. I love it. We're like, oh, 3 minutes. We got this. All right. So I'm going to take a moment to close my eyes, and whoever wants to join me in this connection, in this field that we can co-create together, I would invite you to do so. If it feels good to sit your body up straight, you can put your feet flat on the floor if you want to, in a chair. Or if you're in like lotus or half lotus or crisscross, that's okay too. There is an acupuncture point on the heel of your foot that when you press it down on the ground, it activates this nourishment from Mother Earth to come up through your being. So if that feels good to you, if you want to practice that, you can. I'm going to put one hand on my heart center and one hand on my lower abdomen. I might drop both of my hands down to my lower abdomen. Either way is perfect. So when we put our hand down there, there's an energy center down there on our lower abdomen below our navel. This is also, a lot of traditions call this like the seat of the soul. And it's also a place to connect to our ancestors. And it's also our energy and stamina and vitality and much more. So let's take a moment to just breathe in that universal light, that source light. And like we were talking about, source can be whatever your connection is to that. Wherever you find that love, that brightness, that nourishment. Take a moment to just breathe in that light. Just imagine like your whole being breathing, like your whole field, 360 degrees. It's just a gentle breath, just kind of effortlessly receiving this light. And when you exhale, you can let go of whatever is outside of this moment. So we can be in no time, no space. And start to visualize this light that's pouring into your being, bringing that connection, starting to form a beautiful ball of light in your lower abdomen. And we're going to use this soul power, this soul connection to connect to ourselves. Dear my heart and soul, you can just repeat silently or out loud. Dear my heart and soul, I love you, honor you, and appreciate you. You have the power to heal and rejuvenate yourself, to receive love, inspiration. Do a great job. Thank you. Dear all of our guides and our angels and protectors and, whatever it is you connect to that's supportive and of source, love, and light. Our animal guides, our committees, and our highest potentials, our source nature. We love you, honor you, and appreciate you. Please come forward. Please be with us. Please help us to open our hearts fully to receive this wisdom, this love, this nourishment, this guidance, and to connect to one another all over the world in this field of love and light. And dear, the being of love and light who'd like to step forward and offer a message to all of us at this time, we're so grateful. Dear, any information, steps we can take, wisdom, guidance to move forward, anything any of the listeners need to hear at this time, and any of those who will listen to this in the future, the highest and most appropriate messages for the collective, for each of us, please come forward and reveal yourself. Thank you. So I'm just going to sing a little song, like a soul song or a heart song, just some sounds to help me connect. And just stay in this place of connection and love and light. E-I-O, ya, E-I-O. E-I-O, E-I-O. How, dearest my beloved ones, this is heaven's firm speaking. I come from a very special realm and garden that is filled with virtue and nourishment. It is the rainbow light that I bring to each of you. The nutrients from heaven's soil, which is beyond this earth. The nectars, the minerals, amino acids, sacred herbs are coming to each of you at this time. Some of you may smell the herbs, feel or taste them. The message I have for each of you at this time is to allow yourself the flexibility. Do not get rigid with yourself. Everything, including what is considered your success, is malleable at this time. Things are changing, letting go, transforming, literally changing in front of your eyes. It takes great flexibility and an open heart to yourself to receive what is there truly in that moment. The opportunity the expansiveness, the stillness, and most importantly, beloved. It is not about doing, but being. Action is important, but it is not the first step always. Take time to truly connect to yourself quietly. It will serve you to stop fidgeting or running from something that is ready to transform and bless your life. Be patient with yourself. This will bring the clarity you are desiring. Spend time in the light. Receive. Ground. Play. This is my message for you. Thank you, Heavens Fern. That's very, very unique. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just being shown this fern. Ferns they're not like pine trees, but their roots and their ability and what they bring, and they even look so delicate, right? But they're so strong. It was just really interesting. That's what I just kept seeing these images very clearly of this fern.
It's so beautiful. It brought so much. I love, that was the same thing, like the pine cone. It's like a fern that has this exceptionally perfect message, and each piece of it I kept being like, ooh, yeah, that, I needed to hear that. Oh, yeah, that too. The whole time.
Yeah, did you want to share anything about that for yourself?
Now I'm forgetting, but specifically, oh man, I don't know. Now I forgot all of it.
That's great. That means you really received it.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. I was like deep in there with it. That's why my eyes are watering so much, and I couldn't stop yawning too. Oh, now they're gonna burn. Maybe not. Yeah, I can't remember the specific part, but I was just like, okay, yeah, that specifically like hit me in a place that I needed to. It was just about the rigidity. That was it. It was like even your success is flexible. Like, don't, because we have that tendency too. We're like, oh, this is working well, so this is all I'm ever going to do. And it's
That's
like,
the world we live in.
That's growing too. Like, gotta let all of it just be emerging and changing and shifting, and let it go where it needs to go. It's especially important, I feel like. Yeah. Oh, and the part about just being so crucial right now. I feel like a lot of people are like scrambling, like, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? All this stuff is happening, everything's changing. What are we gonna do? And I'm like, literally what you have to do is just be, just like, and it's the opposite of what people think most of the time. So it's hard to, I think, accept, but probably not for a lot of people hearing this message. It's probably easy to be like, okay, yeah, that's true. That's actually what I need to do.
Well, even for me, like sometimes it can be really easy. And like what I wanted to respond to that is like, I am flexible,
Yeah. Why are you telling me this?
Which probably means I really need to hear it. But the part that I really resonated, that came through, that I can relate to, that I got a similar message for myself earlier today, was it's like wherever the squeeze is, that's where you need to sit. And we were kind of talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
In a way. Like for me, I'm like kind of, the scrambling I'm doing is doing everything I can to avoid this one thing that is like, right, been like a lifelong like thing that is just like ready, and I'm ready, and I have all the tools and the abilities, and it's the perfect timing, but I'm like, oh, but I have to clean like behind. Like,
Exactly what Krista was saying too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the toilet's really dirty actually. You can't really take care of that now.
Yeah. So, you know, my plan for tonight is after this to really just allow myself to sit sit because it's like the thing that as soon as you start doing it, you're like, okay, right? It's not as painful. It might be, but it's different.
Yeah. It's really one of those same exact things. I'm like, "Oh, I guess I have to go meditate now." And I'm like, "What? I have to? Like I guess I have to? No, I get to." And
Yeah.
100% of the time I do it, I'm like, "Oh, thank God. Like that was amazing." Even when it's not like amazing, it's still needed it. Just being centered, just pausing.
Yes,
Any
but
of
when it
that.
turns into something that's like taking up your time, that what else are you gonna do? Like that could be more beneficial. I
Right.
don't mean towards you. I just mean like,
In general.
yeah, I get that way too. I think it's important for people to hear that like this happens to everybody.
Yes.
I mean,
Everybody.
you and I have been meditating. I mean, I've been meditating every day for hours for like 10 years and still sometimes not every day. You know, there's
Yeah.
some days where I'm just but once you sit down and you do it, it's just like once I sit with myself and really let myself feel, and that doesn't mean like get torn to shreds about it. That means just be in the stillness and let the wisdom come. Let my because what's happening is I've done the work on all the other levels, but I need to release it from my being.
Yes, I agree. Well, people are loving it. Jenny B says Catherine always brings it so good. Kabar or Christy says, "My heavens, thank you, much appreciated." Lindsay 14 says, "Beautiful, thank you." Project Cheney says, "I'm so grateful to be home in time to catch y'all." And Kabar Christy says, "Goodness, my eyes have shed so many tears. Be like water, my friends. I am so flexible and I am here." And
Oh,
Krista says, "I'm so grateful. That was deeply penetrating and so comforting. I felt a bit of a loving ass kick in there too." Hey, get to work. I love it.
those ferns, if they whip you,
Yeah.
you'll get moving.
Well, it was totally not actually connected to this, but I was just remembering like the most beautiful ferns I've ever seen are just in that Fern Canyon. It's in Redwoods National Forest. And it's like this river coming through this ravine, and the whole side of it is all ferns all the way in. It's amazing. It's super beautiful. So I was like, oh, the ferns. It's like an interdimensional place, you know. I feel like you go there and you're just like transported into another dimension. It's too beautiful to exist in normal Earth.
Yeah, and I love that it was like in the rainbow realm.
Yeah.
That was so cool.
Really cool.
So I saw the fibers of the fern, the dimensions of them
Wow.
are just wow.
I love it.
So I'd like to offer do a blessing demonstration. Can we do that? We have
Oh, yeah.
time?
Yes.
Yeah. So would it work if whoever is willing to receive the blessing and then, if you feel like it, share a little bit about how it felt for you or whatever. Can they pick a number?
Yeah. Well, it's hard because Rockfin's like a minute delayed, so we'd have to pick the number and then talk for a minute and then.
Well, we don't have any trouble talking.
Yeah, that's true.
What do you think?
Number
Well,
between-
otherwise, what's a good way to do it?
Number between 1 and 100?
We can make it less than that.
Okay.
How many people are watching?
26 perhaps, since they lie a lot, so we don't really know, but
I think between 1 and 25.
okay.
1 and something like that.
1 and 25. Everybody pick your number if you would like to receive a blessing.
Let me get a number first. Okay, I got my number.
Okay.
Okay, everybody, you can pick your number now.
I love that message too, because I know, we know, and I think everybody out there knows that no matter what your question was that you were like hoping that might be addressed, that Catherine might be able to get a message for you, it was.
Yeah, that's what I got. I got that we really just all needed a message.
Yes. Okay. Even the Rockfin numbers are coming in now.
And you know what I'm seeing also is the even the shadow that the fern creates. I'm gonna visualize that I'm just like sitting under a fern tonight,
Mm,
just sitting in the ferns.
I like that. Yeah,
I
they're
might have
just all
made
around.
ferns. Yeah. You know, I lived in Hawaii for quite a while, actually, like 8.5 years. And um, I guess ferns and palms are different, but I was kind of thinking of them similarly. I know they're different, but
They have the same like shape of their leaves and stuff.
I feel like their purpose is similar. One can appear more delicate than the other, but sometimes not. But have you ever tried to rip a fern apart?
Yeah,
It's
it's
hard.
hard. They're tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
seem very delicate, but they're very tough.
And the shade and stuff they provide, the coverage, the protection. Um, so it's something that like looks very still and delicate and also right can move very flexibly, that inflexibility. And it's also this strong, stable, yeah.
I was just leading a meditation earlier today that for the monthly meditations we do Sundays and Thursdays. If anybody wants to join us, it's awesome. And that is source guided too, and once we're in it, it's just like flowing through. And I was just remembering like, oh yeah, that was part of what came through for one of the things we were doing was be vulnerable. There's actually your greatest strength in that. You're not becoming weak, actually. Like, it's the opposite. We have this idea that these things that are soft or gentle or vulnerable are weak, when actually, like this fern, they can be like almost indestructible because
Yeah.
of their seeming
And
vulnerability.
it's similar to like focusing, taking away from your freedom, which is not a true message.
Right. Okay, do you want to tell me the number and we'll see who receives a blessing tonight?
Yeah, the number is 11.
Well, nobody got 11, but we do have a 13 for David and a 9 for Isaac. So they're both 2 away. Should we do both? Can we do both?
We can do both.
All right. So we're doing Isaac and David. Isaac Davis.
So, can they tell us what they feel like they need?
Yeah.
So how the blessing goes is you can receive it for anything, right? Emotional, physical, spiritual. It can be like to transform a mindset or a belief, like we've been talking about. It can be to help clear any negative information or energy or matter that is related to you accomplishing something or moving in a certain direction or accepting something or in a relationship. So that just gives you an idea. So you don't have to tell us. If you want to tell us, then I can help you set that intention while I'm offering the blessing, but it's not totally necessary. But think about what you would like to receive. If you ask for something, it can be, and if you have physical pain, choose that. That's what I would say.
Yeah, that's always
Because
nice
that's
to see.
already the physical manifestation of whatever's happening for you.
We also, while we're waiting for them to come back or to get back with us, if they do want to share something that they would like it to be for, Project Cheney actually is someone who has a really cool story about a blessing that she received from me. I was guided to offer her a blessing, and we didn't know each other very well, actually, or at all. We had talked once on a show, and I just was guided like she, might like a blessing right now. She was about to go do something really important, and so I found a way to contact her and offer her, which for me was another one of those things where I was like, I don't really want to do this, but I guess I have to. I'm being like told that I need to. And so I did. And luckily she was open to it. She was like, sure, send me a blessing or whatever that's all about. Cause she didn't really know what I was, I think, talking about. And I sent her the blessing as a pretty open-ended, like, all right, source, whatever you would like this blessing to be for. Like, I'm not even sure.
Yeah.
I'm just guided to do it. So here we are. And she went to actually January 6th And she was guided to then go over and touch the obelisk, and she felt like part of the blessing and part of what happened was part of what touching that obelisk and like helping release whatever negative intentions were going into that day. So we were just like part of this daisy chain of like getting the right energy to the right place at the right time. And I try to share that with people, like, your intention is powerful, and your intention to invite source into a place is powerful. Your intention to be aligned with that energy is powerful, and you don't have to know exactly why or how. Just like hold it in your heart, you know? So that was one
I mean, if you
powerful
don't
way.
know what to ask for, you could just say for whatever is best. And, you know, sometimes we don't know better.
And
But you always get what you need out of it anyway, is how I feel about it.
I think so too. David Hudson is saying that anything will be awesome.
Cool, David. Thank you so much.
And Isaac is saying another message for anyone who may need it, which is very sweet, but it's a little bit different from the blessing. So should we also just do it for whatever is maybe needed by Isaac?
What did he say again?
Another message for everyone who may need one.
Oh, yes, it is very sweet. Well, here's the thing about that. So while the blessing is being offered, everyone take that opportunity to receive the message, because what happens is the transmission that I have that'll be offering the blessing. I don't know if Lindsay's going to do it too, but we're both going to, you get double the power. Probably more than double, but we will be turning them on. Basically, I don't know, Lindsay, this is just how I would describe it, is it's like really going to activate the source field of positive information, frequency, and vibration that will be facilitated through us, right? We're just facilitating it. And this field will go out to both David and Isaac. And it won't be diluted because it's going to two. It does its thing full power for both of them. But the thing is, when it comes through, we're all going to be in that field because we're all connected in this moment. So take that time to sit and be still and listen to what the fern said and receive, because whatever the splash or flash blessing, sometimes people can get healed from just like being present for a blessing.
I love that. I always am like, that was like you being ready. Like you had done like the work or whatever, and you were here and you were present and you were willing. And so it like just happened for you.
Yeah, that's right. So we'll all get whatever we need. And if you are working on receiving messages, if you have that, if you're very connected to that ability that you have, because I think everybody has it, or if you see things or however you receive, really let yourself do that. Let's practice together. It will raise the vibration actually for all of us if we do that. Yeah. Okay, so shall we prepare?
Yes.
So that's how everyone will get the message through the blessing. Thank you, Isaac, for saying that.
That is beautiful. Okay. Thank you.
So everybody could just kind of relax. I would invite you to just go ahead and close your eyes again. If you have a part of your body that has pain, I would maybe place your hand there if it's comfortable, and put the other hand on your lower abdomen. And you can take a moment to just close your eyes, breathing in that light, that source connection into your heart. Exhaling, letting go of any negative information or interference in this moment. And so Lindsay and I will kind of silently do our thing for a second.
Oh, I'm following you. So.
Okay.
Yeah. But yes.
We'll turn everything on, get everything going. And we'll offer blessings to, can you say their full names again or whatever you know?
Isaac Davis and David Hudson.
For their requests or in whatever is for the highest good for them at this time. For healing and transforming, to release negative information, energy, and matter that is most helpful for them in their transformation, growth, and highest good at this time. We're so grateful. Thank you. Okay, everybody. Receive. Blessing starts. Silent blessing. just going to share a little bit about what I see as the blessing continue. For Isaac, I see a lot of fire coming in, releasing, burning off old mindsets, ideas, even connected to your ancestors, a way of doing or being that is not in the most natural way for you at this time, that you're getting a chance to release. And now I see like fresh grass like growing in its place like instantly, and it's got this beautiful golden like dew on it. And so instantly in comes a new way, a new perspective, a new way of relating to yourself, to your heart, and connecting to others. And I just see this new way of you coming into your being, in your like being embodied in your body a little bit differently. Lots of light going up and down your spine, nourishing your brain. I see the kidneys releasing fear, bringing in more of that prenatal energy, activating that's been dormant or stagnant. I see this also like renewing your reproductive area. It's like your fertility of life, all of the ways that we can be fertile in our lives with ideas. It's like this rich soil. And I see beautiful like little buds growing already, peeking their head up. Lots of light flooding in through your crown, through your back, your shoulders. And I see a release in your hands, like you might feel a tingling in your hands and your feet. A really beautiful full body situation happening for you. And I see a beautiful dragon. And one of your guides is really stepping forward for you at this time. And I'm sorry, I forgot your name in this moment because I'm in flow. For the other one, please forgive me. There's just this sweet nectar coming in. There's this sweetness. There's just this really, that's all I can say. It's just it's like this sweet spot is really being revealed, activated, nourished, appreciated, celebrated. This softness that you hold, that is like one of your greatest qualities, not one that everyone gets to see, but one that you'll get to know better. I'm hearing over the next 3 weeks, 2 months, really, you'll start to see it differently, connect to it differently. I see lots of kind of interference with that being released. It looks like, kind of just this smoke, just kind of this dust being blown off. Any mindsets about that part of you or connecting to that part of you. And then all that positive messages and love and appreciation for that is coming forward. It's a part of you that is, it's like strong as steel and soft as feathers. It's like, it's a part of you that served you in many lifetimes. I almost see, like the presence of an Indian or a Native American chief. That unspoken wisdom. Then I see an eagle coming to you, actually, flying to your shoulders. Continuing to remove, some mindsets and ideas. It's kind of like allowing different thoughts to connect and rejuvenate one another. And really cutting off the energy to the other ones that aren't so loving and positive or helpful at this time. And I see just a huge opening in your crown, lots of light coming in. Your connection to Mother Earth is so beautiful, and she does need you, so you know what to do. One small step at a time. It's like that. I just keep seeing actually this image of the drop of water on the stone, you know, how it can transform it one drop at a time. You know, your soul's really here for the long term. You're not in a sprint race. You're really, you know, here for the whole thing. How this means perfect. Get well. I like to say that. Woo!
Wow.
I saw a lot.
Yeah. It's so interesting for me that especially to be doing it at the same time, and when you're describing what you see, and the things I'm seeing are totally different, but they're the exact same energy and purpose. So our just the way we see it in our mind's eye is different, right? The way it like presents.
Right.
I shouldn't say totally different, but it just looks
Well,
different.
and it would be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it's cool that the message is similar. Do you want to share a little bit about what you saw?
I'm like you. I like start to forget it as soon as I come back out again.
Yeah, and I'm sorry if that was created interference. I was guided to just do that. So
oh no, you're fine. I was just working on just being in that flow and letting it continue. I know, for example, I also forgot who is second.
I'm so sorry.
The second one, we're sorry. I forgot who was first, so I don't know. But
it was Isaac and then
David.
David.
Yes, so David.
Sorry, David.
So when you were doing David, and I'm gonna forget exactly which part you were talking about too, but it was like canoeing through some area, and it was like old grizzled like wizard, but he had like a tiny little bird, you know, and he like let it go, and that life sort of passed, and I saw that like multiple lives he's had this like presence of like extreme gentleness, but like kind of rough and tough too, but just like beautiful and powerful, and that connection to the earth. And so that was at least one of the things that was like I saw it in a different way, but it was the same message and energy.
Yeah, it sounds like you just saw a different lifetime.
Yeah, I do that too sometimes. Like, don't mean to, but by the way, here you go.
Yeah, it's great. It's all good.
So but I love that's I feel like, because that's how I feel about these more messages and this information and the source energy, is that like we are looking through our own little, you know, spectacles at it, and so it's going to look, but it's not going to change the message. It's not going to change the essence of it. Like, it's the same thing.
That's when you know the true message.
Yes,
I think. Yeah.
David says, thank you so much. I definitely have had a past life as a Native American. Oh, and you were describing that part right before you were describing it. I saw him meditating in like a loincloth, you know, and then you're like, yeah, Native American. And I was like, there we go.
David, I could feel your heart. It's so beautiful. And that sweetness, like I couldn't even describe it. It was just like so sweet. I'm sure you get told that by people who are close to you. Yeah. It's very, your soul is just very kind and sweet and strong and determined, and
it's beautiful.
It's powerful.
Good job.
And then it was a little more fierce, you know, for me. That's what I connected to.
Yeah.
But it's time for all of it.
It's a nice balance to have.
Yeah. Yeah.
And needed. And thank you for serving the earth.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Isaac said, thank you both so much. It was beautiful. I need to rewatch this. And Dakota says, I also saw the eagle. I saw it in the sky while walking my dogs today, too. I recalled the moment during the blessing.
Oh, beautiful. Thanks, Dakota. Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, I love it. Well, Is that a good place to bring things
I
to a
think so.
close? Yeah, what a beautiful. I love when people get to understand too how powerful it can be. Like we said, you're allowing people to heal actually by bringing them your gift, and um, blessings are like a little bit more direct version of that.
Yeah.
But still, the information and messages can come through, and so they're like different sides of a similar coin. And I just like that people get to see all of it. And then I would also like them to understand where and how to connect with you more deeply if they would like to come get a reading with you or sit with you or, heal with you or receive blessings or whatever might be good.
Yeah, I would love that. You can go to my website to look at some of the services I offer on there. I do human readings and then I do pet readings and I do all kinds of stuff. So you can check that out. Soul Light, 2 L's, soullightpetservices.org. I am on YouTube, Soul Light Pet Services, I think is what it is, with Katherine O'Shea. And I'm also on Facebook, Soul Light Pet Services, and I'm on TikTok. Facebook and YouTube, I do a lot more live stuff. And there's also like a lot of practices and meditations, and you can get a better feel of what I do with the animals and different things. I do Forgiveness Fridays, which is really fun. It's a way to self-clear our pets and ourselves. And actually, the last one I did, not this last Friday, but the Friday before, it was the spring one, which I thought was so cool because the spring element, the element that's connected to spring is wood. And part of the wood element, the aspects is like that anger and frustration and also the patience. And it's also connected to your liver and your eyes and your tendons. And your large intestine and many different things.
So, like all the things I have problems with.
Well,
That I'm
I
transforming.
noticed that it's like really coming up for people right now, all that stuff. And even me, I was like so frustrated. I was just like, I don't mean even me, but like frustration is not actually my go-to. I mean, sometimes, but like I noticed like even I wasn't being as patient with like my dog and myself and like all this stuff. And so, yeah, I was guided to do a forgiveness practice connected to the wood element.
Oh,
And it
that's
was
smart.
cool. Yeah, so that's on my YouTube. You can check that out under the Forgiveness Fridays. You can also reach out to me, soullightpetservices@gmail.com, or go through my website. Yeah, I would love it. I would love to connect.
It's beautiful. It's worth it. Everybody should do it. If you're feeling called to do it, especially go set it up right now. Soul Light Pet Services. And what are your final thoughts or words of wisdom that you want to share with people?
I just want to share my gratitude for everyone. Really. In this moment, I'm just kind of almost overwhelmed with it. Today, there's just been so much happening in my field today, lots of transformation and just really kind of moving through it. But it was one of those times where it's like, man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to like put a sentence together to talk to everybody. But you all showed up for me in a way that was really powerful to support me in that, being able to connect to all of you. And that's what happens when we show up. Everybody gets supported. You're the ones who served me by getting me to come on and do this. And I just, I'm so grateful to you, Lindsay. You look so beautiful right now, by the way. It's like very distracting to me. You're just radiating. And I just feel so lucky to get to do this with you. And I'm just so grateful. And I really love this community. And as you're sitting there talking about connecting, I'm just thinking of all the connections that this has afforded me to have. And, even just any kind of message, or whether it's a session or whatever it is, it's just really, it's really special to me. I cherish it. I'm very grateful.
Oh, I love it. I feel the same. I'm so grateful for you and for everybody here. You guys make the dream real. And fellow travelers of the path, it is a beautiful thing. This has been your analog electric concentric dose of wisdom according to the beautiful Katherine O'Shea, a bridge between the human and animal and spirit worlds. Thank you, Katherine, for being here tonight. As always on Rogueways, can't wait to have you back again. Well, in our minds are both the greatest gifts and the greatest challenges. If we understand what and who we are, if we understand where we are, we can begin to chip away at the mental conditioning that has told us that we are disconnected, unimportant, spiritually dull or worse, and we can begin to remember that we are brilliant, shining embers of Source incarnate, here on this plane for a short amount of what we call time, able to unleash ever-increasing torrents of Source flow through our actions, aligned with our heart's depth of love. Of course, we can only do that if we believe we can. So use your mind as a gift, friends, and until you do, travel well, aim for balance, and always look inside first.
Yeah. I know all around the world, shit. No one even heard of me halfway around the block. I just got an SOS from somebody's girl, begging for a photograph of my watch. Most don't know what time it is. I don't know whose mind this is. Snowing in my sinuses, the league is gonna find the kid, administer punishment. Underwater drumming squids, fuckers wanna pummel and toss them in the rubble bin. What a dumpster fire, motherfucking wide. Tried to fuse it in. If your thoughts are living, grow tired. Split the venom mouthpiece in your mental housing. Sent to finish bounties on everyone who's doubting. There you have it, folks. There's the first round. Contestants know what they won. This insanity. God damn it, Chuck. Said tell them what they won. Took a little breather while we took a break. Went to a park and stole a rich kid's cake. Staking marijuana too, bumping some Nevada tunes. Wash it down the clown with some of Svetlana's brew. Who the fuck are you? That's what they keep asking. Kevin Garvey on a beat, international assassin. Smashing like my life's at risk. Caskets for the brightest spit. Rip mics tell arthritis hits. Still might make a life of this. Never will concede my run. Clever with deleted funds. Ever undefeated punk professor of the beaten drum.